Hi, Mary. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Good. So excited to be here with you, Mary Heilmann. You are the new Chief Academic and Schools Officer at Neighborhood Charter Schools. How are you
Yes.
feeling about your new role?
Super excited to step into a new role at a new place and see what opportunities we have to make student achievement higher. So,
Great. And you
yeah.
have an incredible background. What have you been doing prior to this?
Yeah. So before this, I worked for Achievement First for 10 years on their special services team, improving inclusive practices at a high achievement charter network. So ensuring that our students who have the highest needs are achieving at the same rates or higher than our general ed population.
I like that. I like that and higher. And then before that, you were at Uncommon School, so you're very well trained.
Yes. Yes, I was a taught and was a school leader at Uncommon in Brooklyn before that, and started my career through the New York City Teaching Fellows at a public school in New York City in Harlem.
That's right. Okay, great. So, Mary, what's a question that you always ask candidates and why that one?
I'd love to ask candidates about what they uniquely bring to the position. I like to ask that for two reasons. One, to see how they see themselves and their strengths, because as a coach, I like to lean on people's strengths as opposed to try to fix all their weaknesses. And so, yes, you want to be coaching people up, but you also want to be really leaning on their superpower to make sure that they have wins when they're moving into a new role. And secondly, it helps you understand like what their concept is of the position that they're interviewing for. Like,
Hmm.
are they on the same page as you? Like, are the skills that they're saying they're bringing to the table compatible with the role that you're looking for? And have they done the due diligence of looking at the job description and seeing themselves and whether or not they fit with both the role and the organization?
That's great. Okay, how do you help candidates get an honest, real understanding of what it's like to work in an organization?
Yeah, so for years, I never loved it as like the recipient of it, but I have seen the value of doing role plays and seeing what
Yes.
it's like for leaders to really interact at like even though it's like a simulation, interact in a conversation of how they would navigate stickier leadership conversations or adaptive moves because you get to hear and see what a person sounds like in the position. So role plays have really been helpful to see like can this person in the moment come up with some answers and navigate tricky spots.
Hmm. And what are you looking for in the role play? Are you a do it again kind of gal? And
I am
if so,
100% a do it
okay.
again for the
So
gal.
are
Yeah.
you talk to me about what that looks like?
Yeah, I think it's an opportunity not only to see, like I said, those ability to sort of interact in those moments, but also to see if they're receptive to feedback. Like
Hmm.
I've been in interviews where you say like, "Let's pause. Here's a piece of feedback. Do it again," and people either immediately pick up on that take and they like see where you're going, and you can kind
Yeah.
of catch whether you dive and like what you can do together, or they're like they don't do anything different. And you're
Right.
like, ooh, like you're either not receptive to feedback or you're having trouble implement in a moment, which
Mhm.
is good for me to know.
So those flags will come up and then that
Yeah,
helps you make your decision. Great.
absolutely.
Okay. When it comes to closing strong talent, what's your secret sauce? How do you get people to sign on the dotted line besides your sparkling personality, of course?
Yes, that. And I think one thing that I've learned through just like great leaders before me is like being real and transparent, being like, this is what's really great, the mission, the value of this organization, and being really candid, like, this is hard. And these are the things that we're navigating that we're trying to get better. Are you on board to kind of come with me on this mess? And like
Mhm.
people who are like looking for the perfect thing probably
Yeah.
won't come, and someone who's like really like we work in public education, like nothing is perfect and everyone has to have that mindset of like we need to leave things better than we found it is sort of where I want to go there. And just also being like we don't expect you to come in and fix everything all at once, right?
Right.
Like let's talk about what an onboarding could look like and like a slow roll to make sure that you feel comfortable and up to speed and have the information and tools you need to be successful in your role.
How do you assess for their readiness or like the real desire to take on the challenges that are in front of you?
In the past, it's been like sort of previous experience. I haven't been really hiring for entry level positions. So, like, hearing from them, like how they've navigated sort of tricky situations at work or how they've built a system or improved a practice, and seeing like if that what they're speaking to feels
Mhm.
legit and feels like they're ready to take that work on in a different space.
Yeah. Nothing worse than hiring someone them saying like, I didn't know I was signing on for this. It's like you're
Yeah,
signing on
yeah,
for it all.
exactly.
A good understanding of what it all is. Okay. What is the most creative or unconventional thing, excuse me, you've done to get a candidate to say yes to an offer that you've made?
I think it's like connecting them, like, hey, like, we want to give you the job. Like, here's connect with all these people. Like, talk to the people who are actually living and breathing either the same role or a similar role within this organization. I think that we run the risk of like there being like more public, not humiliation, but like sadness when if a person doesn't sign on. But like, I also think it gives that candidate like a real feel. Talk to the people who are actually doing it and have real conversations. And in the past, the people I work with have been honest and open to share that, and like getting people on board through personal connection has been helpful.
What's your best advice for a first time hiring manager?
My best advice is both trust your gut and be sure that you're listening to what the words are that the candidate's saying. Like,
Yeah.
look at the evidence in front of you. Don't just like round up or like assume, like, ask the question, listen to the answer, and really evaluate based on what you're hearing in an interview. You can't just hire someone on face value.
And what do you think about, I'm going a little bit off script, but like, what do you think about bringing a couple of people into the interview versus just you? How do you think about like interview teams?
Yeah, I think I really appreciated interview teams in past. They can often confirm what you're seeing, both positive and negative, but also like add a different perspective of like I often am seeing person as someone I'll manage or someone who I'll be managing their manager, but someone who's more lateral in terms of their position can see just like from a different lens, can add a different point of view that I've always found helpful. So like being smart about who you're bringing into the interview process. Like too many cooks at the kitchen isn't always helpful, but like being strategic based on the role that you're hiring for, whose perspective you want to.
What are some red flags that you look for, or like pet peeves of yours that when they come up, you're kind of attuned to them in your interview process? Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's like a balance that people need to strike of like when you're asking people's perspective on a scenario or something, like if they come in and think they know everything and they're like, this is exactly what I'll have to change. I would prefer a kind of say like, here are the questions I'm going to ask to start. And like, or like, here are some things that I would wonder about. And then here's what I would do. So there's this like balance of inquiry and perspective that they're bringing to the table when someone comes in and just like overconfidence, which I know can be like an interview strategy for people. Like, I know what I'm talking about, but
Yeah.
I don't think that's like authentic to people's actual working styles. And so I'd
Yeah.
rather see a layer of authenticity than like this persona that people bring to an interview that like I'm sort of like looking at something that isn't exactly what I'm going to be investing in if I hire them. Yeah.
And when you see a flag come up or like a gap in skill, how do you decide whether you can coach for it or whether you'll pass?
I think that's in our interview process, we've like actually just addressed it head on and said like, hey, I'm going to give you feedback on this thing that I'm noticing. What's your response? Like, how does that make you feel? And like, based on the person's response, they're either going to get really defensive and, you know, like, oop, I've like hit something here, or they're going to be like, oh, thank you for that feedback. Like I've seen that in the past. Like that's something I want to work on in the future.
That's great. And it really is true. It does kind of fall into one of those two
Yeah.
categories. It's very rarely like right in the middle. Okay. Do you have any other hiring advice that you want to share with the folks who are watching?
I think I've had the experience of both hiring like from the charter space in the charter space, but also
Yeah.
hiring from people who are external.
Yeah.
And if you're building out a team, it's been really helpful to have that variety. Like I think having worked at a large CMO, we often look for people who look the look and talk the talk of that
Yeah.
CMO lingo. And that it's like a kind of like creating your own echo chamber. You want various perspectives. And so when you're coming into an interview, realizing that some of the best candidates might not exactly have the exact answer that you've scripted out of what you're
Yes.
looking for, but to listen closely to hear like the keywords or phrases, or not even words, I'd say like ideas that you want to perpetuate within your organization.
That was great, Mary. Well, you're going to be a fantastic hiring manager as you go into your new role.
Thank you.
Anything you want to plug or any seats that you might be looking for upcoming that people should keep an eye out for?
You know, we're always looking for good teachers. So that's number one. And keep an eye out for upcoming roles at neighborhood charter schools so we can build out a great team.